it's Jessica. Welcome and welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel, where I discuss all things style, wellness, pop culture, and whatever else comes up from week to week. This past weekend has been really tough for me, so in order to get back in the swing of things, I decided let me try to create some content, shift the energy. Yesterday, I decided to do absolutely nothing. I had a day of bed rot. I fell in and out of sleep and cried a bit, reset that nervous system. So here we are. So we have to kick everything off with our fashion segment as per usual. Now, I kept forgetting to address this controversy because there's so much more happening in the world and in my personal life than this fuck shit. But let me go ahead and say, as someone who was a huge advocate for the affordability and the stretch and the long-lasting quality of American Eagle jeans, I am devastated that they let knockoff Amanda Seyfried ruin my experience with her monotone voice and the coded language of, I don't even know what that was. They missed the mark. So I want to offer you guys some alternatives. In my experience, like if I'm out on the street, like in the wild, and I see someone wearing really good denim where it looks high quality, the fit is impeccable, it's one of two things. They either paid an absolute fortune for them or they were vintage. So I want to give you a couple of places that you can go if you do not have a great vintage store near you. The thing is, because of capitalism, and I won't go too deep in this because y'all know I can go on a tangent about the evils of fast fashion, but I'm just going to say really quickly, clothes are not constructed as well as they used to be. So you can go get a really great pair of jeans from a vintage store that will fit you and last you a whole lot longer than some of the brands that are being made today. So I really want to encourage you that if you have the opportunity to go to a vintage store, try that out, go that route. You can also, if you peruse some sites that sell denim, they also sell vintage denim, but the markup is crazy. Where it's like, baby, if this was already made before, why are you charging me more for it? I mean, like, I get it, but also, like, I'm not an economist, but that don't seem right. So you can find some vintage denim online, but it will be more expensive than if you go to a store. There are a couple of stores whose denim I do enjoy. Abercrombie has pretty decent denim. Madewell has decent denim. Surprisingly, Old Navy has decent denim. And Gap and Old Navy are owned by the same places. So do with that information what you will. Now, I will say that Gap off rip might come off a little bit pricier, but they have really good sales, and so does Abercrombie. Abercrombie has a lot of different fits, a lot of different styles, a lot of different washes, so you can explore those if you just absolutely need something new. The most recent pair of jeans that I got from Aritzia. They are by Citizens of Humanity. I'm obsessed with them. I did get them tailored. And let me pull over right here to say something. I appreciate engagement on my posts and in my content, but people often ask me like, oh, what size did you get? How tall are you? What are your measurements? That is incredibly intrusive information. I don't understand why people are averse to looking at the size chart on a company's website. And moreover, I get most of my clothes tailored. So I would get my drawers tailored if I could. Like, I love the experience of something feeling somewhat bespoke for me. And this is not to flex, but because I have a big butt, wider hips, and a small waist, if something fits my butt and my hips, it's gonna be huge in the waist. So I kind of have to. So asking my size is not gonna help you. You have to go on the journey of discovering your own sizing and how you wanna make things work for you. So I just wanna toss that out there. Just go on the journey, okay? Coming up, we have to discuss GLP-1s because I think that I would be remiss if I didn't. And I know y'all are tired of hearing about it, but we have to talk a little bit about Love Island. And I am going somewhere with it, so I promise I will not inundate you with more content about that. So stay tuned. Okay, we're back. So I'm going to give a very brief explanation of my experience with GLP-1s, aka Ozempic, Wegovy, what's the other one, Zepbound. The generic term for those are GLP-1s. They are typically given to people for, well, Ozempic, I don't know about the other ones, but they are typically given to people for diabetes. I started taking Ozempic before I knew that Ozempic was even a thing, because in 2021, I was over 200 pounds. I was almost 220, and I am 5'2". There was a lot of stress being put on my knees because I was running a lot during lockdown. I was running like 3 to 8 miles 5 days a week, and I was gaining weight rapidly. So by the time I went for my annual physical in 2021, my doctor was like, how many times a week are you working out? And I kept thinking that I'm just not working out hard enough. And she's like, baby, that's not what I asked you. How often are you working out? And she was like, I think that something else is going on here. Based on your family health history and how quickly and consistently you are gaining weight, I think you might be insulin resistant. She sent me to a top-notch endocrinologist that unfortunately I can no longer afford to see because the American healthcare system. But I'm grateful for the time that I was able to work with her. We did lots of blood work, lots of testing, and found out that I'm insulin resistant, which means, just the short version, my body does not process food properly. And where someone who isn't insulin resistant, your body is telling you to make energy out of this food, and all of, my body just wasn't doing that, and I was perpetually hungry. So the hormone that you have that tells you when you're sated was in very, very, very low supply in my body. So I was eating a lot because I was perpetually hungry, and no amount of working out was going to do anything to account for my blood sugar, my blood pressure, my cholesterol, despite the fact that I was like working out. At a certain point during the pandemic, I couldn't sit all the way because I had lost muscle around my coccyx bone, and it was just bone on fat, and it was incredibly painful. My hips hurt a lot from like trying to run out. My knees hurt a lot from, trying to run with, all this weight on me. So I give props to anybody who can find comfort in a bigger body. For me, it was very painful. And my doctor told me, like, if we don't do something about this via medication, you're going to be a full-blown diabetic by the time you're 40. Diabetes is, it's a manageable disease. It's, whatever. But with the way our healthcare system is, there are diabetics who can't even get access to these medicines that they need, life-saving medicine, because so many people are abusing it. It's really tough because even though I had a diagnosis, I had a hard time even getting my prescription filled at certain points. I had to call around to so many different pharmacies because it kept being just like on backstop, because so many people were taking it for weight loss. And I felt that I had to defend why I was taking Ozempic to people a lot because of the way folks talk about the folks who were taking it for weight loss. If you have not ever struggled with your weight, you cannot begin to understand not only the physical discomfort, but the social discomfort of it as well. The way that I would hear, or, like be in like a group text with my friends and hear them talking about like people who had gained weight and like, oh my gosh, she got so fat. And I would be sitting there looking like, guys, it's in the room. Like, there just wasn't a lot of like sensitivity to what I was going through and how much of a struggle it was. So I hate that even if I did not have a diagnosis that led me to taking this medication, which was very closely monitored. I went to my endocrinologist, I think initially like every 3 months, to do extensive blood work and other testing to make sure there were no adverse effects. I lost over 50 pounds over the course of a year. And even doing that, it's the process that, like, as a person who genuinely, like, I'm from the South, I come from a family of people who cook. I love food. It was really hard to not be able to eat, like to physically be unable to eat. And it is really helpful in terms of food noise. That wasn't something that I was familiar with. My insurance will no longer cover me for GLP-1s, but I can still get the oral medication that I take to keep my blood sugar at bay and to hopefully prevent me from developing diabetes. I have to be much more cautious and much more aware of how I eat and of being active. So I have to do some lifestyle changes as well, because the medication was doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me for a while. So now I have to lock in. And, developing that discipline is tough. Now, I said all that to say, recently, Serena Williams, arguably the world's greatest athlete, came out to promote a GLP-1 via telehealth. And a lot of people have a lot to say about that, about the ethics of it. What I want to say is, I have never had to endure the scrutiny that she has endured about her body. No one has ever, that I know of, masculinized me for my body. People have not, I have not had the experience of childbirth and almost dying because people don't believe that because of my body and the way that I look, I don't experience pain like other people. I have not had the experience that Serena has. I also had the privilege of growing up surrounded by Black people, surrounded by Black women who love themselves, and who I did witness a lot of like yo-yo dieting and things like that. But in general, nobody around me when I was coming up was trying to be rail thin. That's just not really a beauty standard that I grew up seeing anyone aspire to. So I never aspired to it. Tennis is overwhelmingly, I think that there's a lot happening now to make it more inclusive, but tennis is, in a lot of ways, people consider it to be a quote unquote white sport, despite the fact that there are like Black women and women of color in, y'all know I'm not a sports ball person, but typically like we kind of grow up, people are mostly playing like basketball, football, like those are the things that they put like more money into in like Black schools. I think like that. I remember like we had a tennis team at Westlake. I don't know how well they did, but it's not as like celebrated as like football, especially in the South. Not where I grew up. And this is just anecdotal. From what I gather, Serena was around a lot of white people, and then you become very famous and you're around even more white people. There is something that happens to Black folks and people of color when they are the only one, when you are one of one or one of two, and you're surrounded by a population of people whose beauty standards do not align with yours, or do not align with what you've been raised to prioritize, or do not align with your physicality. So I think that like I can empathize with her wanting to assimilate. I can empathize with her wanting to be such a visible person and to be scrutinized in that way. I can fully empathize and understand why she would go this route. And from the outside looking in, we're like, you have such an amazing like athletic build. You are a Black woman. You look like what a lot of us know a Black woman to look like. We're not a monolith. We do not all have the same genetics. I want to be very clear, but it's somewhat disheartening to see that a woman who is celebrated as such a top tier athlete, who has all this money, who has it looks like she has a husband who loves and supports her, that she has this objectively good life, that you have all of those things and you still cannot make peace with your body being what your body is, and even you are resorting to GLP-1s. I think that was shocking for a lot of people, because it's like, what more could you want? And I want to say to that, unless you have gone through the experience of being overweight, especially like for me, my body was so revered to people for so long that when it started to change, people felt very comfortable telling me about it. And that is incredibly devastating. And it's a bit of a mind fuck for someone who does not have an ideal body type, quote unquote, ideal body type within like our community, to then tell you about your body, or to be in partnership with someone who was overweight, who people would call fat, but for them to shame you about your body as it's starting to change. And to even cope with that on a micro level is tough. So I can only imagine what it was like, or what it is like for her. I give her the most empathy. Um, and it is somewhat sobering to, I think that people don't recognize that even if you lose weight, wherever you go, there you are. Losing over 50 pounds did not make my dating life better. It did not improve my confidence by much, because my confidence wasn't damaged because of weight. At the root of it, my confidence was damaged by a lot of things, right? And that's, between me, my therapist, and my journal, and my friends, right? Losing weight is not going to be the answer to all of your problems. And I think that a lot of people right now are watching the Biggest Loser documentary on Netflix. Those people lost all that weight on that show and went back to their lives and gained the weight back plus some, for a number of reasons, like genetics and lifestyle factors, and the fact that to lose weight, it's almost like another job. And the obsession with like calorie counting and having to be so mindful, but you also have a family, you also have a mortgage, you also have a job, you have all of these competing priorities. And to add weight loss into that, it is tough. And I understand why some people just can't fucking do it. And I just want to say again, no matter how much money you earn, no matter how, if you achieve all of your body goals, you can go and get the best BBL. The thighs can match the ass and everything. If you have issues with confidence, if you have issues with self-compassion, if you are, oh my God, if you are male-centered, baby, everywhere you go, there you are. The weight loss is not going to change. It might, the change might be marginal at best. Wherever you go, there you are. Those problems will still exist, and you will have to dig deeper to resolve that feeling of not being enough or of being too much than just weight loss. And I don't obviously know Serena Williams. I know what I know about her. And I do understand. And it's also like people feel from an ethical perspective, because her husband is an investor in this product, and then to also promote telehealth. I felt very comfortable taking Ozempic because I was very monitored by one of the best endocrinologists in New York City. And I had to routinely get tested to make sure that everything was okay. I don't know how good it is to just have someone say, oh yeah, you can take this as long as you can afford it. I don't know how good that is. I'm not a medical professional, but even when I started losing weight and people wanted to know, oh my God, what are you doing? I was so hesitant to tell them what medication I was on, because I was like, yeah, it's not crack. You can't go buy it from a dealer, but apparently you can go get you some black market Ozempic. I child know nothing about it, but I just kept telling people, if you have access to healthcare, go see your doctor and see what your doctor says. Because I was not comfortable giving people that kind of advice. And people, it was just a very strange thing too, for people to also act like I was kind of gatekeeping, but it's also like, this is my personal like medical data, like medical information, and I'm not obligated to share that with you. So I understand how Serena arrived at this place. And it is disheartening to see that someone as revered as her also has succumbed to this thin is in kind of mentality that is incredibly pervasive right now. There is a relationship between a rise in conservatism and in body consciousness and in thinness. And I think this is kind of like a microcosm of what's happening in our country, what's happening in our world, honestly. And yeah, I think the only solution to these kinds of things is to be very locked in with yourself, set your own beauty standards, and um, come to a place of comfort with just who and where you are. And I know that that's a huge undertaking, because there's a lot that happens in the world that makes us constantly feel that we are not enough, that we are not right. And so I get it. And so I want people to show her some kindness in the way they're navigating conversations around her body, because it's been talked about and criticized so much. And if you have not dealt with that on even a micro level, imagine what it is like on a macro level. Like, everybody has gone to a family reunion or even at a funeral and have people comment on their body. Like, your family is sometimes like your biggest ops. Like, oh, you done got fat. And it's like, you've been fat for 2 decades. I've never said anything to you about it. How did we arrive here? How did we arrive here? So I hope only good things for her, and let's just like show her some grace, because if people have not, when the way that the transphobia jumps out when we talk about women who look like Serena, it's appalling. So if you have not endured that, show her some grace, empathize, and show some compassion. Okay, so I did not get into Love Island until the season before this one, with the Cordell and the Serena of it all, right? I was very locked in to the mindless drama. This most recent season, like, the breakout stars of the last season were the Black girls, and also a woman of color. What is she, Armenian? I can't remember. I can't remember what Leah is. But anywho, this season, the breakout stars were, I'm gonna be real, I didn't even finish the season because there was so much conversation happening in real time that I was like, well, I already know who won. Baby, I thought Nick and Alandria won. I was so surprised when I found out that Amaya and Brian actually won. I was like, oh, okay, well, sure, whatever. But Nick and Alandria have been the breakout stars of this season. Alandria is I'm not going to argue with nobody about the fact that Alandria is strikingly beautiful. She is very dark skinned. She has beautiful features. She looks like a Black woman. She has a big butt. She has a crazy tiny waist. She has like full boobs. She's a beautiful girl. She stands up for herself. The way that she handled herself on this season, I continue to be impressed with her. I wish that I had that kind of confidence when I was in my 20s. What's pissing me off is coming out of the villa and going into the real world. There was another couple, another Black couple that people were kind of rooting for, which was Shelly and Ace. Ace, I did not really see it for throughout the entire season. There was something about the way he was showing up that I couldn't put my finger on, but I was like, there's something about him that I do not like. And I think that Ace was actually trying to manipulate so many situations in the villa to ultimately win, not to necessarily explore and find love, but he was so critical of how everyone else was performing or searching for love on the show. He was so critical of, just of other people's process. And it was like he had this chip on his shoulder, or it was like he felt like he was in charge of the girls, and it was very strange to me. And now I realize that a huge part of why I did not like him is that a lot of his pursuit of Shelly came off as incredibly performative. I have a thing about people who do grand gestures to prove their love for someone. A big thing here or there, great, no problem. Like, hey, I am a romantic at heart. I love to put on a skimpy little dress and a pair of heels and go have like a Michelin star level meal. That is one of my favorite things in life. But I also really enjoy the small moments of being with a person and getting to know them and just walking with them and being in their space and feeling comfortable and safe. So and I know people in real life who are extremely performative in that way. So it was not surprising to me that him and Shelly didn't win. To be quite honest, I didn't really see a lot of chemistry between them as much as I just saw him performing as if they did, right? So Ace has been very vocal about whether or not Nick and Alandria's connection is real, and he claimed that Alandria was his very close friend, but I don't understand how you can say that someone is very close to you, but then coming out of the villa, this Black woman, this dark-skinned Black woman who people kept trying to act as if she was not desirable. And the first guy that she partnered with in the villa did not find her desirable. And she was obviously more into him than he was into her. And it was very tough to watch. To see Nick in the real world, make sure that she has brand deals, make sure that people shout her out, take her on trips, be very protective and supportive of her. Even his family shows up for her. That is beautiful to see. And I think that a lot of people also don't love the fact that he's a white man, showing her this level of affection that she did not get from any of the black guys in the villa. So many of the black guys in the villa expressed that their preference was the more quote unquote exotic looking girls, the Latinas, the curly hair, the lighter skin. I believe that Alandria deserves absolutely every good thing that she goes for post Villa, because she endured so much racism online and on a macro level. That girl went the fuck through it. And people are questioning whether or not her and Nick's relationship is real, whether or not their connection is real. Even if they don't end up being boyfriend and girlfriend, fiance, husband and wife, that man is being a legitimate good friend to her. He is showing up for her. He is allowing her to be more at ease because he's stepping up for her. And I think that that is a fantasy that a lot of us have as women, who you don't have another choice but to go out and to work hard and to make a life for yourself, because you know no one is coming to save you. But to have someone actually come in and carry some of that burden for you, that's beautiful. So I can't understand how someone who alleges to be your friend would throw salt on that. And it just seems that Ace is incredibly jealous, to be honest, that he and Shelly were not the diamonds of the season. What frustrates me about this is Ace is also using this as an opportunity to almost like weaponize blackness. I hate when people do this. People did not dislike you because you are a quote unquote confident black man. People dislike you because you are an asshole based on what we've seen. I don't know you in real life, whatever. But based on what we've seen, not only in the villa, but how you have behaved after the villa towards people that you claim to be your friends, people don't dislike you because you are a confident black man, quote unquote confident black man. It's because you're an asshole. And I hate when people suddenly become black. There's another celebrity that will go out and routinely talk about black women, demean black women, engage in all of the misogynoir. But when that same energy is turned on her, then all of a sudden, oh, y'all are doing this to me because I'm a black woman. Maybe, but it's also because you're an asshole. I cannot stand for people to bastardize or weaponize a marginalized experience for their benefit, because then I don't want to say that it makes it that much more difficult for all of us, because racism exists not through any fault of our own, but it does make it seem like, oh, you're playing the race card, when in this instance, that's not what's happening. Practice some fucking self-awareness. So that's like my frustration with Ace. It's like, this isn't because you are a black man. If anything, people are okay with black men being confident. People are not okay with black women being confident. That's another conversation for another day. People expect for black men to be braggadocious and to even be somewhat cutthroat in how you go about achieving success in life and all of the things. That's not really a thing in the way that you're trying to make it out to be. And so I said all this to say, I don't give a damn if Nick and Alandria are scamming. At this point, I'm in on the scam. You can sell me more things, and I want only good things for you, because I'm rooting for everybody black who also isn't an asshole. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't misuse this experience to work to your advantage to cover up bad behavior. That's not what this is. Those things happen all the time. We are constantly under observation and judgment and ridicule because of the way racism performs in this country. This isn't that. This isn't that. No, not gonna let you do that. So that's this week's episode, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share, join the Patreon, all of the good things, and we will talk again soon. Bye.